everyone. Welcome back to an episode of Sharp Talk. I'm Tavia Sharp of Styled Sharp, and today I have my new guest, Nick Papadopoulos.
Yeah, you said my name right. That's awesome.
did.
Thank you.
I did.
Thank you.
And Nick is an executive coach, a facilitator, and an author. So I want Nick to go ahead and introduce himself, and he can tell you more about him.
Thank you, Tavia. Nice to see you again,
Yes.
and nice to be with everybody. Again, I'm Nick Papadopoulos, affectionately called Coach Nick. I do executive coaching, leadership development, a lot of work around engagement and culture. All that's in the corporate setting. And on the personal development side, I do a lot of work with men. I've been running men's groups and men's leadership training weekends for almost 13, 14 years. And currently, right now, for example, I have a men's group that's been in place for about 4 years in New York City.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for
It's
sharing.
great. Yeah, absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
so exciting.
Yeah.
All right, so we're just going to dive into some questions.
Sure.
And, this is really for you to learn a little bit more about, I would like to say vulnerability and allowing men
The V word.
The V word.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And allowing men to just open up and share. And Nick is going to talk a little bit about how he does that in some of his groups and his facilitations as a coach. And, I'm going to be sharing a little bit about my thoughts on this topic too, because I have clients who are men, and I think it's really important right now, especially now we're starting this new decade, and it's definitely something that I'm hearing a lot about.
Right.
So I'd love to get right into it. So
You got it.
First question. What are the pressures men face day to day, balancing both career and family life?
Yep. I would say that men are in a place right now where we're looking to, and I include myself in this, right? Because I'm on this journey as well, to redefine what it means to be a man. I do believe women over the last 30, 40, 50 years have been on this journey, right? And I think as a society, we've been on this journey in disrupting some traditional narratives that no longer serve the greater good. And men, I believe, part of our pressure is how to be, how to show up, how to act, right? This concept of, boys will be boys or man up, right? That puts a lot of pressure on dudes, right? Because what does that even mean anymore? I mean, I know what it used to mean, right? And many men, I believe, have issue with it. And at the same time, part of the challenge then is, well, I also want to fit in at some level.
Yes.
Right? And I'm not saying fitting in is the right thing to do, and at the same time, I think it's a human thing to do, right? To want to look good, to want to play it safe, to want to fit in. And I think often men are caught in this place of, how do I be authentically expressed inside of a society that still uses terms like man up and boys will be boys, or, you know how men are, you know how my husband is, you can't count on men for fill in the blank, right?
Yes.
Real quick story. I had my partner said to me one time, she said, "How do you not know how to change a tire?" Right?
Oh, wow.
Right. And so so that has me feel like I'm less than a man. But here's the real challenge. When I'm in my men's group, and guys start talking about changing tires, or actually better yet, this is a real example where the guys in our group were talking about taking a refrigerator down 5 flights of stairs in a New York City apartment. You can imagine how much room people have to do that, right?
0.
And you would have thought it was like the second coming, like the sea had parted. There were like about 30, 40 emails, tie it this way, make sure you tilt it that way. Someone should stand at the bottom. Someone should be at a 90-degree angle. I feel completely out of place because I don't know what they're talking about. So in one respect, my partner says, "Hey, how do you not know how to change a tire?" So I feel like, okay, I'm not man enough. And then I'm in a group that I run. I founded this group. I facilitate it. Guys are sending, like I said, 30, 40 emails about how to move a refrigerator. I have no idea, and I have no interest.
Right.
And so it actually leaves me with the experience of being alone. And I don't mean that as a victim. I don't mean that for anyone or for you to feel sorry for me. It's just that's the experience I'm having. And so I do believe men often have that experience. And when we do have that experience, we're not vulnerable enough to share that that's how we're feeling. And so we then go into what most people would call the cave, which is even lonelier.
Yes, totally. And I like how you brought that up, because I do feel like there is this societal pressure, like your wife, you know, it's no fault to her, but it's the expectation that you're supposed to know how to do these things. Right. And I think, I mean, I'm on the opposite, right? And I'm coaching men, and I'm allowing them to share that, right? There's these feelings of like, I don't feel good enough because I don't know how to do X, Y, and Z. You know, it could be things in their dating life. It could be things about even like approaching women, you know, if you're single. There's a lot of pressure, you know, for guys to, you know, really, you gotta be the one to approach. You have to do it first. And it feels really pressure. It feels like a lot of pressure. And some of the guys that I coach, that feels really scary, that fear of rejection. And then guess what? They don't want to do it. And so it's important to know that they have a safe space, like your group, or working with a coach like myself, and really being able to open up and share these things, and having somebody listen to you and you feel heard.
Yeah, and I believe that when men don't do something right, or do it in a way that they think is right, they don't want to share, because the thing about men is, I think we're wired for a long time to not want to show weakness, or to show that we don't know, right? There's the classic example of when a man and a woman or a group of people are driving and a man is lost. If the man is the driver in particular, does not want to admit. They'll drive 3 hours out of their way, but I'm not stopping to ask for directions, right? And I do think that's important for folks to understand, men, women, regardless of gender identity or sexual preference. I do think that men have a challenge in admitting or acknowledging that I don't know something, or I've done something wrong, or that I need help. I mean, God forbid a man should ask for support, because that would be a sign of weakness. And that's like the worst thing. That's worse than going to the dentist. That you might have the experience that Nick is weak, or Nick needs support, which might make him less of a man. And I do think that's part of the pressure that we deal with, which is, how do I ask for support? How do I work inside a partnership, actually? Because that's, to be in partnership, there's a give and take. There's needing to support, you supporting me supporting you, right? And I do think men are traditionally not wired that way. And so that's the opportunity is, and I don't think this is a man conversation. I think this is our culture conversation is, how do we make it safe for men to redefine what it means to be a man in 2020 and beyond, obviously.
Yes, exactly. I love that. Okay. Question number 2, why do you think it's important that men have a safe space to open up and share authentically and vulnerably with other men?
It's interesting, because the men's groups that I run in New York City, or the men's leadership weekends that I do, the men I'm with open up. I mean, they share, and they're vulnerable, and they're honest, and they're direct. I believe it's important, because otherwise we're carrying all the weight, right? We're carrying all the baggage. Men often just operate very, very independently, right? Go slay the dragon is where it all started, right? Go out and oh, by the way, go do it on your own. Right. So we're wired to do things on our own, right? And I was just sharing this proverb today. I may get it slightly off, but it said something about, if you want to go fast, go alone, and if you want to go far, go together. And I think that's the opportunity for men, because otherwise, like I said a minute ago, when you're going at things alone, which again men are wired to do, and that's an automatic for them, it's more tiring. It's exclusive, right? We live in a world where we talk about inclusivity. It's completely the opposite, right? I also think that men, they feel a tremendous amount of pressure, which is what we were just talking about in your first question. So I believe there's an opportunity to lean in, right? Lean into your relationships, lean into the situation, versus the automatic, which is always to lean out and I got this. Sort of a classic, dude line. I got this, or I'm good. I don't need anything. And then they sort of veg out in front of a TV, right? Or they'll go and run for 4 hours, or work.
Yeah, right? Work. Throwing themselves into work is a big one. I know I had a client who came to me, and he was really like, he had held in the stuff that he was dealing with for so long. And this is somebody I knew from personal development work. You know,
Right.
we had done personal development group coaching
Right.
together. And he came to me independently because he said, you know what? I feel like you're my safe space to open up and
Absolutely.
share all this stuff I've been carrying, right?
Absolutely.
The heavy weights of like pretending I got this and I'm okay from the
Absolutely.
outside, but then allowing himself to really open up and just let go was
Right.
huge, because it was like a weight lifted and it was freeing, because I think a lot of men do that. They carry it around, whereas women, if I'm to really to compare, from my experience, is like we like to get together and gather and cry
And have an
together and
infrastructure.
share, and it's very intimate, and I've been in a lot of female groups where it's just females. And
Right.
so I think it's great that you're doing this, because it's so needed, because we're already been doing it for a long
Yeah,
time.
right.
And it allows us to get it out, you know?
Yeah, real quick, there was a COO who came to me from a very reputable company, really large company, a COO who said, Nick, I want to hire you as your executive coach. So part of my intake process is to ask, well, why now? Why
Yes.
me?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know, why today versus yesterday?
Yes.
And he said to me, he says, I need to just talk to someone. I said, well, what do you
Right.
mean? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, tell me more. Like, what is it that you need to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, I just had a baby. My wife and I are not having sex.
Mm-hmm.
My father is dying, with a terminal disease.
Mm-hmm.
And my CEO and I, this is the COO, the CEO and I are in a political battle.
Wow.
And he said, I am tired.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of actually going to the bar and talking to my friends about sports and talking about the beer or
Right.
complaining about our partner.
Right.
And it's actually more exhausting to do that than anything else. And so
Yes.
can you just talk to me? Can
Yes.
you just listen to me? Which is fascinating. It's
It is.
fascinating that that he needed to hire someone, pay someone to do that. I mean, I'm glad he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at the same time, it's really interesting that a man's go-to is that I can't really share these things with other men.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or with other folks.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a lot of this experience, and that's why we're sharing, because I think it's
Right.
important for you to know that you have options.
Yes.
You know, you don't have to be alone.
Yes.
And, go find somebody to speak to, or join a group that
Absolutely.
you feel you have that comfort level where you can just open up and let go of some of these things,
Absolutely.
these burdens. Okay, so my last question
Okay,
is,
great.
because we're going to talk about the arena,
Ooh.
right? What does stepping into the arena mean, and how can men benefit from showing up for themselves in a more
Okay.
powerful way?
Well, great. So the arena is based on the speech that Teddy Roosevelt gave probably about 100 plus years ago. Brene Brown recently referenced it in her Netflix special that I think has sort of brought it back to life. From my perspective, the arena, when you're in the arena, that's where you have the experience of being alive, you have the experience of being intentional, you have the experience where you get to be generative, you get the experience of where you can actually influence the situation and focus on the things you can influence.
Yeah.
Ultimately, all equals being alive, right? Versus being in the stands and being an observer.
Yes.
Right, where often as an observer, you're frustrated, you're disconnected, you're checked out, you're disillusioned, you eat too much,
Yes.
right? You're on your phone too much, right? And you're actually reactive to life, right? So that's my sort of interpretation of being in the arena.
Right.
I think for men, being in the arena often is lands on men as being in the arena to go conquer or go accomplish, go
Yeah.
get the new job,
Yeah.
go get the raise, go get the woman or man, the partner, right? Get the relationship, right? Get the new apartment, get the new clothes, right? And that's all good. That is part of being in the arena. Like those are some of the results and experiences you may create. I also
Yes.
think the arena is about where you get to be vulnerable and you get to be authentic.
Yeah.
I referenced Brene Brown, where you get to be seen,
Yeah.
right? And especially for a man who we do everything we can, and we create all the masks and we put on all the armor so that we're not seen because again, as I said a few minutes ago, we don't want to show weakness. We don't want to show that we don't know something. We don't want to show that we're lost when we're driving, metaphorically speaking, right? And so I think the arena also includes not just the go get the new job or the new relationship, but also your ability to just be you.
Yes.
One of the things I like to say is people are judging you anyway. I mean, I think that's what sometimes people forget. So then you might as well just be you, right? If you like to wear a gray, black type, great, wear that. Because if I was wearing a purple shirt, someone that's watching this is going to judge that, right?
They're going to judge us anyway.
Right, we're humans. We judge, we assess, and that's fine. So you might as well just be yourself so that you're not carrying all that armor, all those masks, all that luggage with you.
Yeah, I always talk about that because for me it's like really showing up as your authentic self, and that's something I teach a lot because when I think about, what I do as an image coach, as a consultant, it's really about allowing that person to show up as themselves and owning it.
Yes.
So having the inner and the outer be a match. It's not about changing.
Yes.
I'm not here to change somebody. It's about you bringing out your most powerful, authentic self.
Yeah, and
that's what I see.
And I love the part about owning. I think when you own, I think being in the arena is actually owning all of you.
Yes, all of you.
What you might call the good or the ugly, although I think it's all perfect.
Yep.
That actually gives the experience of trusting yourself, being confident, being powerful.
Yes.
And when you're in that place, you're willing to be self-expressed and you're willing to show and be seen.
Yeah, and I feel like the pressure comes off too.
Yeah, it's like,
at that
whew,
point.
okay, great.
You get to release all of that pressure that you have, and I imagine as men you have a lot of pressure. Like females, we have our own pressure, right? But that is a lot to carry around when you're not able to let it go. You're just piling on as you get older, and all these things, more things come at you.
Right.
So to have a place where you just like are able to let go, or to speak to a coach, and work with somebody where you can just release all that, it's very freeing. Yes. I think.
Absolutely.
So this was a great conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Nick, how can people reach out to you or connect with you?
Well, thank you for asking, and thank you for having me on.
Yes, of course.
Best way would be my email, coachnick@coachnick.com. I think that's pretty easy. I left the Papadopoulos part out. So coachnick@coachnick.com. I'm also doing a men's leadership weekend here in New York City, the Arena Weekend, thearenaweekend.com. For any of the viewers, you can use the FRIEND promo code, all caps, and you'll get a lovely discount.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll put it in the comments as well.
Thank you.
So thanks again for joining us, another episode of Sharp Talk. And if you like this content, please hit the subscribe button, and so I can know that you want more of this type of stuff.
She's great. She's good stuff.
Yeah, so,
she's legit.
So and comment below. I'd love to hear from you. So go ahead, press the like button, and I will see you next time on Sharp Talk.